Today, we're getting into a really powerful idea from Henry Oliver's work on the second act. It's this simple truth. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen long after everyone else thinks the race is over. Does that thought ever hit you? You know, that feeling deep in your gut that the clock is just ticking way too fast? That maybe you should be further along by now? That maybe, just maybe, you've missed your shot? I mean, since we were kids, we've been fed this story that life is a sprint. You have to be a prodigy, you have to peak in your 20s, and you better have it all figured out, like yesterday. But that whole idea is just wrong. So what if we've been looking at success all backwards? See, this one-size-fits-all model of success, it creates so much anxiety. And it's because it totally ignores a fundamental truth. Not all genius works on the same timeline. It's a trap, really, that makes most of us feel like we're failing, when actually we might just be playing a different game. Okay, so this is the core idea you need to grab onto. An economist named David Gallinson figured out there are really two ways to be brilliant. On one hand, you've got your conceptual artists. Think of Picasso. They get a huge idea, they plan it out meticulously, and then, bam, they execute it. They tend to have these incredible breakthroughs early on. But there's a second path, the experimental artist. Think of Cézanne. For them, genius isn't some lightning strike. It's a slow burn. It's built over decades of trial and error and wrong turns and just accumulated wisdom. And their greatest work, it almost always comes late in the game. So here's what's so crucial to understand. Being a late bloomer isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's not a sign of failure. It could be a sign that you are an experimental artist. It means your whole journey is about exploration, and every single detour, every one of those moments that feels like a misstep, that's actually you gathering the raw material for your masterpiece. You know, society might look at those years of wandering and call them wasted, but for the experimental artist, that period is absolutely essential. Researchers actually have a name for it, inefficient preparation. And that, right there, might be your single greatest advantage. So how do you actually make this time work for you? Well, it really comes down to three key things. Let's break them down. First, you have to show up. Simple as that. You just have to be in the game, even if you don't really know what position you're playing yet. Take President Calvin Coolidge. A professor once gave him this great piece of advice. He said, "A career is like a river. Your only job is to get in the main current. You don't know exactly where it's going to take you, but one thing's for sure, if you're not in the water, you're going absolutely nowhere. You have to be in the arena." Second, and this one is huge, you need to go dark. This means you deliberately step away from all the noise to build a skill that is rare and valuable. Nassim Taleb, the guy who wrote The Black Swan, is a perfect example. He basically locked himself away for 5 years and just read everything he could on statistics and probability. He went so deep that no professor on earth could touch him. That solitary deep work, that's where you forge a weapon that nobody else has. And third, fail forward. Now, this is backed by this incredible study of scientists who were all applying for their very first grant. They looked at the ones who just barely got the funding and compared them to the ones who just barely missed out. And you know what they found? The so-called unlucky scientists, the ones who failed early, they ended up having way more successful careers in the long run. Why? Well, because that early failure forced them to stop, to rethink everything, and to come back so much stronger. It turns out, failure, if you let it, is an amazing catalyst. Okay, so you've done the internal work. You've showed up, you've gone dark, you've failed forward. Awesome, but that's only half the equation. How do you actually ignite that second act? Well, it turns out your environment is everything. Just look at the story of Samuel Johnson. This guy was brilliant, but he was broke. He dropped out of college, he'd failed as a teacher, he was basically going nowhere fast. Until he made one life-changing decision. He moved to London. And in London, the absolute center of the literary universe at the time, he found everything he was missing. He found opportunities, he found a network of peers, and he developed a commercial sense that he never had before. It was the city that finally gave his genius a place to land. I mean, Johnson said it best himself, right? His story just shows you something critical. Your talent needs fertile ground to actually grow. Being in the right place can change literally everything. So the big takeaway here is that you have to find your London. It might be a physical city, it might be an online community, but it's that place where the real conversations are happening. It's where you find your people, your collaborators, and yeah, even your rivals. This idea of the lone genius is a total myth. Success today is a team sport. And that brings us to one last, really important idea. It all comes from the ancient origin of a word that we use all the time, talent. See, originally, a talent wasn't an ability. It was a unit of money. A huge sum of silver, actually. And there's this famous parable where a master gives 3 of his servants some talents to look after. 2 of them go out, they invest the money, they take a risk, and they double it. But the 3rd servant, he's scared of losing his 1 talent, so he just digs a hole and buries it. And when the master comes back, he rewards the first 2, and he comes down hard on the one who did absolutely nothing.
And that story just perfectly nails the final shift in thinking. The whole point of having a talent, whether it's an ability or an idea or some unique experience you have, it's not to keep it safe. It's not a museum piece. It's a currency. And it only grows when you spend it, when you risk it, when you put it to work out there in the world.
So, what's the one thing to do right now? Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop worrying that it's too late. All of your experiences, all those detours, all those wasted years, that is your unique capital. Don't bury it. Your mission is not to keep your talent safe. Your mission is to use it.